All right, everyone. So this week on the Provider Spotlight, we have Dr. James Dalfino, the president and the main doctor at the Connecticut Disc and Laser Therapy Centers over in Shelton, Connecticut. So I'm going to have Dr. Dalfino mainly do the talking today, have him introduce himself. And yeah, let's kind of just dive into it. So Dr. Dalfino, thank you so much for joining us today. If you could provide some background on what you specialize in, how long you've been practicing, and we'll start from there.
Yeah, Michelle, real nice to meet you, first off. My name again, it's Dr. James Dalfino, and I practice in a town called Shelton, Connecticut. It's about 25 minutes out of Bridgeport, New Haven, Waterbury. I've been in private practice almost 24 years now. And we've served a lot of patients over the years for various conditions, neck, back, and joint pain, with a lot of success, with a lot of technology. I've always been a technology guy. I love the advancements that a lot of different companies have made with technology to help patients get better. And we've been very fortunate to be able to bring a lot of those technologies into our practice to help our patients get better faster or avoid more invasive procedures like surgeries and medications and injections.
Awesome. I want to kind of start off by asking, I remember when you first joined, I didn't onboard you myself. I know you were onboarded with Cindy, who's our other client success manager here at the company, and she had mentioned that you were previously using 2 radial units. You've had our device for just over a few months now, and so I think we'd love to learn more about your experience with our technology just over the last few months, just in comparison to using the radial, and along with like some of the differences and what was it exactly that prompted you to want to make that switch?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I had some experience with quite a number of different technologies over the years, and getting into shockwave therapy alone, I had some experience with radio shockwave therapy and also an unfocused shockwave therapy. And so with my experience with both of those, I noticed that there's some good and bad with everything, and sometimes I noticed that as technology changed, it went from radial to unfocused. Some patient results got better. I got involved with StemWave because I was just not 100% happy with the results from our unfocused shockwave patient results. And I wanted to give it a try. And I worked with Tom to get a device into our facility. And I have noticed that since we've been performing the StemWave treatments, which is a focused shockwave therapy, our results have definitely improved. Our patient outcomes have definitely improved. And also, to the comfortability of the technology. The industry knows that there's a little bit of a tenderness, especially if you go over a spot that is a painful spot for a patient. The StemWave technology doesn't elicit as much of a discomfort when patients are getting the therapy. And so that also helps with them liking the therapy more. In fact, I get comments all the time from patients, why that was relaxing. And so that's a big jump from what we've experienced in the past. But I would say, just to kind of, circle back, our results are better, our patient compliance is better, and our patients enjoying the technology is much more improved as well.
That's super great to hear. I think it's a huge win for you as a clinician whenever a patient says that feels relaxing, especially since a lot of therapy, treatment, surgery, like you mentioned, it is invasive, and there is a lot of different side effects and complications associated with that and discomfort, right? So I'm sure I'm inferring this as a clinician, that must be a huge win for you, knowing that you're able to, give them the best care and best treatment, but also make sure that it's minimal discomfort. So that's huge. And you did mention patient outcomes. So I guess between when you first started and now, how has your approach to patient care evolved just with the integration of a focused unit like StemWave? And with the outcomes that you mentioned, like what are some of the unexpected and positive outcomes you've observed that you maybe didn't even foresee?
Yeah, I mean, we have seen our classic cases of neck and back and joint pain, but some of them have been, on the mild side, and we've had some that have been very, very severe. I've been really pleased with the results that we've been getting with extreme chronic and severe cases. For example, one gentleman comes into mind. He is about 50, 51, I believe, and he had a broken ankle. And he suffered with this broken ankle for 15 years and has done numerous different therapies, including injections. He did have surgery. He's tried all kinds of different things, medications, physical therapy, and so forth. And, he could walk on it, he could do his day, but it never felt good. And he took a shot, called our office, and we got him in. And within 3 or 4 treatments, he had remarkable reduction in pain. I got a testimonial from him on my account on Google. He loves it. He loves the technology, and nothing has helped him as much as StemWave has. And that's all we did with him was StemWave, none of my other therapies. And once you can get a patient better, you've earned their trust and admiration for life. Because if they failed everywhere else and you were the one that's been able to get them those results, you've made a friend for life, and you've made a patient for life.
Absolutely. And I think again, that's huge for you as like just as a member of the community, because those same patients are going to go to their family, they're going to go to their friends, they're going to go to everyone that they know and let them know that you've made that impact. And I think with whatever anyone does, impact is a huge thing. And being able to do that, it must be super fulfilling for you. Now, outside of like the clinical success that you've garnered with StemWave, how has the incorporation of the technology just kind of impacted your business overall? Have you noticed an increase in patient volume, revenue, profitability, anything of that just over the last few months?
So I've been fortunate to have a very successful practice in a lot of different avenues that I've done. But what I would say is that StemWave has done, how do I want to word it? It hasn't made for more income for me because I've been very successful in a lot of my business ventures in my practice. So I've been fortunate that way. What I would say that it has done is gotten me over the hump with some chronic cases that may have not had as great of outcomes. And also the other thing that it's doing is it is shortening our treatment times. And I'll give you an example of that. If I had a lower back disc herniation patient or arthritic back, we might do some spinal decompression with them and laser in the past, and that might have taken 20 to 30 visits. Well, I'm getting them relief now in 10 visits. So I'm shortening the treatment time. That is aiding to cost reduction for the patient, higher returns on referrals, and things like that. So advertising has been going down, referrals have been going up. So that's always a win-win. But I'm more happy with the fact that I've got a very good tool on my side that I feel extremely confident about in any situation. So doing spinal decompression for over 20 years and laser for over 20 years, you kind of felt sometimes like, well, we hope that we're going to get great outcomes. With StemWave, I almost feel like it's a guarantee more so than any other device I've used in the past.
That's super great. I think when you're able to provide those guarantees, like, and the thing is shockwave therapy is not conventional chiropractic care. It's now emerging in the market as something people are learning more about. But let's say if someone does come in with chronic pain, for example, which are most of the cases you treat, what's like your typical process for going about recommending StemWave as a treatment option, but more so, how do you communicate and educate your patients about what StemWave is, and its potential benefits as part of their overall care plan? Since a lot of people do lean more towards some of the other things that they are usually familiar with.
So a lot of my marketing is already conditional on StemWave. So they're already coming into my practice knowing a little bit about it. We tend to educate them prior to coming in for any kind of initial consultation. So for example, they might see an ad that's based on StemWave. They might get some emails, they might get some text messages that, lead them to different links on our website so they can read and learn a little bit more about it. And kind of already build a vision as to what their expectations might be when they come in. And it's clear that that's the case because when they do come in, and after we do our examination and our consultation, I'll start talking and saying, I think I have a solution for you, and it involves this technology right here. And I'll give them a brochure that or a flyer that I've made up, and I hand it to them as I read it off with them. And they'll say, oh yeah, this is what I read about, or, oh yeah, I saw that video or whatnot. And so that's helped out tremendously. Obviously, technology being what it is these days, it's very easy for people to go onto Google, read reviews, go to YouTube, watch videos on something. All of that has made it, quite easy for any kind of consumer to really look and see more about what's going on than even 15 years ago. And so being that it's my kind of number one, tool now, everybody is going to, possibly be a candidate for it in terms of the fact that we're going to try it with everybody right away. So we'll talk about it. We'll do an initial treatment, maybe 5 minutes worth. And depending on what their condition is, if it's back, neck, knee, shoulder, I'll have them test it out afterwards, walk up and down my hallway, give me some feedback. So we kind of put that, all on the patient to really judge after one treatment if they have any kind of relief. And I would say 9 out of 10 patients will have some sort of relief after that first treatment. And, just to kind of belabor the point from earlier, I've never seen anything that has offered that kind of instant relief in my career. So what happens is that you gain their attention very quickly when you can provide that instant relief. And so after the treatment's done, we'll sit down into my office, private office, and we'll talk about, what they need to do, how many visits it's going to take. We'll ask them if they're on board with that, and the vast majority are. And we'll set them up for a care plan and see Sue at my front desk and get them scheduled for their remaining treatment plan.
That's great. That it just sounds like the results are almost selling themselves at the end of the day. Something that you don't really see with other treatment modalities out there. And it's really just a matter of getting them to try it, experience it themselves, and the decision is made, right? Just from the healing they experience, just at bat. While we're on the topic of marketing, and I know you mentioned that as part of kind of like your intake and also the way you educate patients, you've pretty much become a leader in our provider community. For those who aren't in our community and are watching, Dr. Dalfino has quickly become a part of our top 1% of providers here at StemWave. And you've generated a ton of success just within your practice, clinically, from a business standpoint, and also for your brand as well. And so a lot of people are curious, what are some of the ways that you've promoted and marketed StemWave and have uniquely capitalized in your market as well? Because there are other shockwave therapy providers, not just StemWave, but other shockwave therapy providers within your state, and I'm sure in nearby markets as well. So I guess, what are some of those channels, and what are some of your unique approaches to marketing?
Yeah, it's a great point. First of all, you're talking about the school, which I think is awesome. I didn't even know that that was something that was offered when I got the StemWave device. Maybe Tom was trying to hide it from me. I don't know. But I enjoy it because I enjoy helping others. And so my abilities in my experiences, if I can pass that information along to anybody else, newer providers, whatever, I'm happy to do so. And I got to beat Gil for number one on that form anyway. But in any event, so community wise, we do a lot of paid ads. Okay, so we'll do things on Google, we'll do things on Facebook, and we target specific areas around my practice. So that's the number one marketing tool that we use. I use some pretty sophisticated software to help us through that, which kind of replaces employees. And that allows us to really stay in contact with them by text message and email and so forth. So, that's been really, really good. But, you also have to mirror that with other expectations, because when you're advertising online, you're really reaching out to people that really don't know who you are as a provider or a person. So it's important to gain some sort of trust right away to take them to the next step, which is obviously to take your ad as serious and maybe fill out a form for a consultation or call your office for an evaluation, and have some initial trust. And a couple ways that can be acquired is by being active on social media, right? Having posts all the time that show that you are a credible business and you're giving advice or information to people, whoever wants to read it. And then also too, having, I think really good reviews online. We're very fortunate to have a really great review system. And I think when people see my name and they Google who you are and where your office is located, they're going to see a lot of things that are congruent to their desire to want to come in and see if we can help them, because they look good. It's like they see the reviews and they say, wow, he's helped this one, he's helped that one. So I think that's an important step, that new providers or anybody that's working with StemWave or any technology or however long they've been in practice, is to make sure that you get your reviews online to build that credibility up. And then it becomes self-sustaining. You'll get more referrals and stuff like that. So I hope that helps in answering that question.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really great point you brought up, just because a lot of providers, even in our current process, and I'll be very transparent about it, rely on Facebook and inorganic marketing as the engine for their business, when it really should be the opposite. You're focusing on leveraging your existing patients, educating them, and integrating, this is a treatment for them, and maybe even doing it for free to begin with if you are struggling. So I think that's the right approach. Credibility is huge. We're in an online world now, and people look online. They want to see who they're going to meet. They want to see what the experience has been for other people. And so getting reviews up there, and just developing your own personal brand and having a good portrayal of that is super important. And I feel like you've done that excellently. And it's quite evident as well, just through the success you've garnered. So that's a really great point that you did mention. And even for some of our providers who do watch these calls, you heard it from Dr. Dalfino himself, like reviews are super important, right? So, definitely something that gets overlooked sometimes as you do integrate something new. And I know a lot of people do focus on Facebook ads and like Google SEO and those sort of things, which are all compliments, but starting organically and starting with your content, the way you portray yourself, those are super important. So with that being said, what has your experience been? People are more so curious. What has your experience been thus far outside of the technology and working with our team, working with Tom, Sydney, and our staff? And just overall, how would you rate the support that we have here?
Yeah, so that's another part of, why I think StemWave has been successful for not only me and maybe other providers, is that First of all, the ability to get a hold of someone at your facility has been extremely easy. Everybody has been extremely kind and professional. And I think everybody at your facility really embraces the desire for success for all their doctors. Um, I've had bad experiences with other medical technology providers. It's been pretty disappointing. And I don't know why it was like that. I think sometimes maybe they get too big for their own abilities, and they lose the focus of who's really, who's really the one that's important. And what I embrace about your company is it's very evident that you guys have worked hard at trying to maintain good relationships with the providers. Even on like the school thing that we have, you're on there all the time. As someone who is on that side of the business, we as providers are on this side, you guys are on that side, but you keep that form of communication very open. And I just feel like if I needed anything, I feel confident that it can get done. I don't know if I should say this, but I have Tom's private number, so if I need anything, I can get all the Tom at once notice. And by the way, his numbers, no, I'm only kidding. So in any event, yeah, it's been a great experience, from that side of the desk.
That's awesome. I'm gonna forward that to the internal team. I'm sure they're going to be super glad to hear that. Yeah, and that's another thing. For those who are watching, maybe you're in our process, you're thinking about getting a device. We assign a client success manager to your account, and you'll have our direct number. Maybe not Tom's, but at least mine or Sydney or someone else that you're working with. And we're basically like your right hand as you go through this integration process, because we know that you've invested your time, you're investing your finances into this type of overhead. We want to make sure that you get that return at the end of the day and that you're satisfied, both from like a clinical standpoint and from like a business standpoint. So thank you so much though for like supporting us on that. And again, the results, they came from you. You just followed our process, you followed our trainings, and you're here today, on this call with us as one of our top providers. So, that's really what it is. Now with 2024 coming up, what are some of like your specific goals? What are some of the milestones that you hope to achieve through some of your current marketing efforts? What's in store for you?
Yeah, I think as far as marketing, we're going to continue to, work very, very hard with it. Like I said, I've noticed that some of the marketing that I've been doing in a fortunate way has allowed me to taper off a little bit, because we are getting a lot of referrals, and that's helping keep those costs down. But I think for 2024, part of my outlook is to try to really dive into even more chronic cases. I'd like to see and experience what I can do for patients that don't have any other options. So, when you talk about someone with back pain, they have a lot of options. They could go for surgery, they could go for physical therapy, they could go for injections, they could go for StemWave, they could do those different things. There's a select amount of people out there, a finite amount of people that have done all of that and have had no results. Like my patient that I mentioned earlier today, I want to be able to start targeting those extreme cases, people who have recovering from broken bones, and people who have been recovering from different things and they're not getting it. So I want to try to see if we can get even more chronic people into the practice that that can experience the technology, and see if we can help them, because it's only going to help not only my practice and my referrals, but it's also going to be able to provide me feedback, to provide you feedback on how we're doing with those kinds of cases, so that we can all as a group, us and you guys, be able to tell providers elsewhere that, hey, listen, we've got some really tough cases that are getting better. So some doctors can go out and try to seek, maybe helping those people that, have really no option whatsoever. So yeah, getting the more chronic cases, I think, is on tap for 24.
That's great. And again, we are a collaborative community at the end of the day, like you mentioned on school, but even just relationship building is huge for us here. So a lot of the results you garner and a lot of the research that you have, we put all of that together, and that's how we develop our company line, and that's how we evolve, right, with our protocols as well. And it's something we're working towards. So that's really kind of like the nature of how we do things here. It's very much a collaborative, open space for everyone to voice, their results and their opinion, from like a medical and clinical standpoint. Now, looking ahead, what do you see as an expert? What do you see as the future of shockwave therapy? How do you envision your role and your practice's role in shaping that future within the chiropractic space?
So in my 24 years, I think part of my success has been my lack of fear. I know it kind of sounds weird, but my ability to jump right in, the lack of fear to invest in technology. Um, Again, I've come from nothing. Okay, my family wasn't rich. I wasn't rich when I got out of school. $200,000 worth of loans. Um, Opening up a practice. School, when you go to chiropractic college, they don't tell you how to run a business, right? They don't tell you how to sign a lease for space, what you should do with your rooms, decorate them. You get none of that education. All right. It's the school of hard knocks. And I say that because I still found a way to just find how I could get technology into my office with things that I knew were going to be the next buzz. And it's not that it's a shiny object syndrome. I don't want to misconstrue that, but there is a great window to be able to bring certain technologies into your practice that will take you to the next level. And I firmly believe that shockwave therapy is one of those, amazing technologies and the next best thing since sliced bread. And part of that is because, and again, not to sound like a beating a dead horse, but because I say this to my patients, I've never seen anything work this fast, this good. It happens over and over again. Now, look, we don't get 100%, but we get close to it. We get 9 out of 10 better. So this is a really good time to get in on this type of technology for not only doctors that are looking to expand their practice, but also too, the chiropractic professions is tough on your body. If you are one that does a lot of manual manipulation and moving spine bones and so forth, when you get old and gray like me, it kind of becomes a problem to be able to get through a day and come home at night and not be sore and tired yourself. And these technologies are really, really good for that because you could do them, a staff member could do them. And the results are going to continue to show over and over and over again. So I just think it's an opportune time for any practice that wants to think outside the box, treat cases that they've never thought possible before, and make money that's going to be just insane. And I say that, not to be, like rah too much, but it is. You can make a lot of good money because you're treating people that you would have never saw come in your chiropractic practice otherwise. So it's a great time to get involved with something like this.
For sure. And I think a lot of that applies to some of those practices that have become so reliant on traditional methods like dry needling, decompression, and aren't modality forward. What like, I guess, like, what's some, like, brief advice you would give to other chiropractors who are considering the integration of StemWave in their practice? And we get a lot of these folks in our process, but they're on the fence due to, like, the fear of, like, the many factors, such as how I'm gonna pay it off, how I'm gonna market it, how am I gonna make money with this?
And so I think again, kind of like what I was saying before, I didn't come from anything, and I still found a way to make in these kind of investments, and they're scary, right? Depending on where you are in practice, if you're relatively new and you've got student loans and you're trying to maybe build a practice, buy a house, and live the American dream, or if you're someone on the other side of 40 or 50 that you're not sure if this is right anymore because you've been in practice forever, and sometimes it's hard to give an old dog new tricks, and so forth. But I mean, I just think that we can't look at, and you as a doctor, the doctors out there can't look at it as an expense. um it's a money making device. It will pay for itself rather quickly. And that's the misconception and the fear that a lot of people have, is that I'm going to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for this device, and what am I going to do with it? And a lot of that is the inability for them to think clearly, and the inability for them to get out of their own way. Um, and if you follow and have a successful cookbook or a recipe, you're going to get the results. I mean, when we were children and our parents made food and made cookies or cakes or whatever, they followed a recipe. Those recipes may have been handed down from generations to generations. Well, the recipes are here, and we have a lot of cooks that are here to help get your practice working well with these kind of technologies. So you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to put the fears aside and think of the technology and the purchase as an investment, not a cost. Because frankly, you want to talk about investing in other things, like, there's nothing really out there except, if you're involved in real estate or something like that, you can make money in real estate. But when you're providing a service, that money that device costs, it's not a cost, it's an investment, and you will reap the rewards for it. I mean, I just think, like, anybody that doesn't see it from that perspective is it's unfortunate, because they can do very, very well. And there's hundreds of thousands of people out there. I consult with doctors all the time, and they say, well, what do you think in my area? I'm in, Dallas. You think I got enough people over that? I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, if I open up across the street from you, I would crush it. So it's like I'm not in a very I mean, I'm in Connecticut. There's a lot, Connecticut's known as being an affluent state. But where I am populated wise, it's not strongly populated. But when I see some of these areas that are strongly populated, I mean, it's like I salivate, because it's like, oh my God, you would crush it if you got a StemWave device.
Absolutely. I think it's really mindset is a huge thing, like you pretty much inferred to, confidence and knowing that you're investing in yourself, but also in your patients this way. That's also maybe another approach. You want to be able to provide the best care that is available on the market. And by not making that step, you're doing your patients a disservice by not offering it to them. So I think that's huge. And I definitely think for a lot of people who are watching this, who are on the fence, it's going to give them that reinforcement. So thank you so much for sharing that. I know sometimes sometimes it's hard for individuals coming through our process. When they don't speak to the doctor, they have to speak to someone on our team. But you being an excellent practitioner yourself, that it means a lot. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Dalfino. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, your success so far over the last few months. Congratulations once again. And I'm really looking forward to seeing your results in 2024 and some of the goals as well that you outlined really briefly being met. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Have a wonderful day.